You're watching College Sports Rush's Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
All right, let's get right to it. Jimmy Ott along with Charles Hanagriff talking college baseball. Great start for us in the first 2 weeks. 3-0 sweep in week one. And a little conditional. 2-0 or 2-1 compared if you're the guy that just takes the bets, the picks, no matter what the line is. Again, we're trying to project some of these college baseball lines, or if you're more the discipline handicapper, and we said 130 or more with Texas A&M against Texas. It went off at even money after the news that the Texas Ace was lost for the season. I think it's just that impact on the betting public that drove that, in the odds makers that drove that line. But as we'll talk about in a little bit, Ruger Riojas, he is no dip down from their ace. He had been their Sunday starter. He is undefeated in Sunday in game threes, and he did just fine in his first Friday night role as he shut down the hot-hitting Texas A&M Aggies. Texas swept that series. All one-run wins for the Texas Longhorns. Charlie, as we get into the first game, Arkansas hosting Texas. Texas pretty good in these one-run games. I'm with Coach Schloss.
They're 7-1 in SEC games in one-run games, and they're 10-2 overall. So yeah, they've won every close game, and it's the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause tonight is that they haven't played a really good team on the road. Every team that they've played on the road in the SEC. Stop me if you've heard this before, Jimmy. Texas has got a favorable SEC schedule.
Not as much as football, though.
Not as much as football, but the three series that they have played against on the road, Missouri, who's obviously really bad, Mississippi State, who's 7-14, and Kentucky, who's also below 500. So this is by far their biggest test on the road this season in the SEC. And Arkansas is 27-3 at home, which I think is what's influencing this line a lot. But if you look a little closer, Arkansas 7-2 at home in SEC play. 6 of those 7 wins are against Missouri and South Carolina, the bottom 2 teams in the league. Arkansas has lost their last 3 series overall.
That is a key, and we will certainly pay attention to that. And if you play Missouri or not, it's going to impact your conference schedule. They're now 0-21. Remember when Charlie and I were laying out -$4, -420 on Oklahoma against Missouri? I'm like, man, that is high. They went off against Alabama, and Alabama and Oklahoma are comparable teams. Alabama a little bit higher in all the metrics, but not much. And they went off in the last game at -2,200. You can't lay that, obviously. But the -400 was the last little swing fading Missouri. Nobody's betting the Missouri Tigers in college baseball right now. But the first pick is the Thursday night pick, and that is Texas +135 at Arkansas. Ruger Riojas, he was phenomenal again. You thought he might be a little phased from moving from that 3-starter to the 1-starter. But he was really good, and he had to be because it was a 2-1 win.
Yeah, he threw 5 1/3 shutout innings against Texas A&M. Jimmy, they're 7-0 in SEC games that Riojas pitches. He's 5-0 with an ERA at 2.50 in those SEC contests. To put that in perspective, that's half a run better than Kyson Witherspoon, who we're going to talk about later, Oklahoma's ace, who is a projected top 10 pick. His last 6 starts, he has just been phenomenal, and he's gotten into the 6th inning of every one of those things. And this is a big, big pitching advantage for Texas tonight. Zach Root has started every Friday night game, every game 1 for Arkansas, and he just has not pitched well of late. His last 4 starts, the ERA is over 7. I'm surprised that Texas is this big of an underdog. I understand 27-3 at home, but again, we explained that a little bit. This is just too much for me to ignore. The baseball guy in me tells me that Texas at 19-2 has caught a few breaks, okay? You win that many one-run games, you caught some breaks, you're going into the most hostile environment by far, okay? I know they went to Mississippi State, but State's not as good as Arkansas. Baum is a tough place to play, but I'm confident in Riojas after watching that Texas A&M series was juiced, okay, because of Schlossnagle. And Riojas went out there and didn't feel any pressure. So I'm going to count on him to pitch the way he has been pitching. And Texas is playing. They've won 10 in a row. They're They're playing really well, and I just think that this is a number I can't ignore at Texas plus 135.
Neither me. Okay, this team, this pitcher. I don't care if they're playing on the moon. I mean, give me, and listen, Arkansas is in poor form. They've lost their last 3 conference series.
Yeah.
And we saw Texas A&M and go not too long ago, a couple of weekends ago, go into Fayetteville in Baum Stadium and take 2 of 3. And Texas is, and it figures to be a close game, and Texas is pretty damn good in close games. Texas plus 135 on the Thursday night pick. The rest of these other 3 picks are projected lines for Friday night's games. Let's go to Nashville, Tennessee. Vanderbilt Commodores 12-9 in SEC play against Alabama, 12-9 in SEC play. Bama, of course, fresh off of their sweep of Missouri, so you got to talk about that 9-9. The first 2 games were competitive. Were close, fell behind 5-0. That Thursday night draft night game for in Tuscaloosa, but Vandy struggled, but they did salvage to win the last game in Oxford against Ole Miss to avoid the sweep. They won that one 13-0. They have not played Missouri yet to date, so Vanderbilt looking to bounce back here. We're projecting this line 170, 180. You're willing to take maybe up to minus 190 on the Commodores at home?
Yeah, I like the pitching matchup here an awful lot. Last week we faded J.D. Thompson from Vandy because he had thrown 120 pitches the weekend before. Well, we were right there. He only threw 89 pitches last week and they lost. But his homes and road splits are dramatic, Jimmy. The 3 home starts in roughly the same amount of innings as 4 road starts. The ERA is 2.66 at home, 6.16 on the road. So I really like J.D. Thompson at home, and he's coming off of a lighter pitch count than he did a week ago. And Alabama's been rough in game ones. Since they beat Kyson Witherspoon a month ago in late March, they were run ruled at Auburn first game. They were run ruled against Mississippi State first game. They lost at LSU by 5 after they were leading by 5. And then they won last week's squeaker against Missouri, but they fell behind 5-0 in that game and came back to win. So Bama in game ones has not been good. They've changed starting pitchers from Zane Adams to Tyler Fay. Fay's been a little bit better, but he went 5 1/3 against Missouri. That's 2 full innings more than any of his other SEC outings. I watched, at LSU, they were happy to get 3 innings out of him. So I don't think you're going to get the 5 1/3 like you got against Missouri. I think you're more likely to get 3, and then you're into that Bama bullpen. And that Bama bullpen is not good. They're third to last in the SEC, ahead of only South Carolina and Missouri. Vanderbilt's 23-4 at home. I like J.D. Thompson to bounce back against what's been a rough game 1 outing for Alabama.
Vanderbilt the pick right there up to minus 190 is what we're recommending it for the Commodores at home against Alabama. Florida and South Carolina. Florida is 8-13. They started out 1-11. And they have gone 7-2 against Missouri, Mississippi State, and Arkansas. So they've won 3 straight series. Again, the pounding Arkansas in that game 3 when they fell behind 5-1 in that game. So Arkansas started out horribly in better form. This is a resource-rich program, but in the NIL era of all college athletics, and yes, there are player payroll. The budgets that vary within the conference as well. Florida's lacking a little bit of that, and I don't think it's any secret about that, but they have been one of the more talented rosters year in and year out under Sully down in Gainesville. South Carolina, Paul Maneri, who's won a national championship at LSU and came out of retirement, and this is a rebuilding year, certainly for him. They were pesky against Ole Miss, won 2 out of 3 in Columbia a couple of weekends ago, but just 5-16. The Gators in better form here. We're projecting a line around minus 150 on the road.
Yeah, Liam Peterson's likely to get the ball for the Gators. He's won his last 3 Friday night starts. He's gotten them into the 6th or the 7th each of those times. Now, look, he's not a dominant pitcher. The ERA is 4.23 in those games. That's good, but it's not overwhelming. He's going to give up about a run every other inning, but he's going to get you. He always gets you at least into the 5th or the 6th inning. So he's what I call an honest pitcher. I think you're going to get a solid day's work out of him. I like him better than Brandon Stone, who's likely to get the ball for South Carolina. Although I got to say, Stone pitched one of the best games in the league this year 2 weeks ago when they beat Ole Miss, he went the route in a 3-2 game. And there's just not very many complete games in the SEC. And he threw one in a one-run game, and they won it. So that was great. But that's the one-off, Jimmy. Past that, his ERA is 6.82 in league play. So I think he reverts closer back to that mean. If they get into USC's bullpen, that ERA is 15th in the league. And Florida needs these wins. They're in a tournament right now, but they're a 3 seed. They're 8-15 and 8-13 in the SEC, like you said. They go to Texas next weekend. They can't go 4-5 in these last 9 games and expect to get in. They'd have to go to the SEC tournament and do some damage. And going to Texas next week is no picnic. So they need this series in the worst way. I like Florida in game 1.
And Florida was in a similar situation last year. Strong RPI. They've got a ton of neighboring programs with solid RPIs that they won't dip. And of course, playing in the SEC, but their record is just really poor. What's the two-way player last year that they had? The Golden Spikes.
Castelloni.
Yeah, Caglione. He was, and they're without him this year. So it's just funny how that roster is just taking a dip in this NIL era of college-based college athletics period. So Florida, Charlie, what are you recommending? Up to minus 150? That's kind of close. It could be higher.
I'd take them up to 150. South Carolina's got a little bit of a heartbeat at home. I'm not going to go too much higher than that. But 150, maybe 160 is about where I draw the line.
All right, let's get to our last pick in Oklahoma against Ole Miss. So Oklahoma 11-10. That does include a sweep versus Missouri. Ole Miss 12-9. That does include a sweep against Missouri. So this one here, it's there's no Paul Skeens in this league this year, but the Oklahoma Sooners aces. This was with our big hit last week. It was a Thursday night NFL draft game and night, and the ace was outstanding. But, man, when that Oklahoma bullpen came in, it got a little shaky. An 8-1 lead. The tying run was at the plate for Georgia in the bottom of the ninth. But we do escape and cash that plus 190, plus $2 ticket with Oklahoma at Georgia last week. We're riding that ace again. Might have to pay a price here at home.
Yeah, we're not going to get that number again. Last 4 times, Witherspoon, SEC ERA is 3 even. He's pitched twice into the 7th, twice into the 8th, 2.42 ERA in that stretch. And it took Cade Anderson's masterpiece from LSU in Norman, throwing a complete game shutout in the one game they lost. But Witherspoon did not pitch bad at all. They lost a 2-0 game there. But the bats are going, too, for Oklahoma, Jimmy. 8 runs in 7 of at least in 7 of their last 9 SEC games. And even when you pull the Missouri series out of there, they're scoring runs against other people. On the other side, our old friend Hunter Elliott, I love him, but he's lost 3 of his last 4 starts. The ERA is over 5. And you're going to get into that Ole Miss bullpen where I think the bullpen edge goes slightly to Oklahoma here. It's close. Both of these teams are comfortably in the tournament. Either one of them would have to hustle to host. They'd have to win 6 or 7 of their last 9. So that's probably a wash. But I like the pitching matchup here. Witherspoon should get deeper into this game than Elliott. Oklahoma swinging hot bats. And at home, I'll lay the number here with the Sooners.
All right, and looking at some of the future odds at Bet Rivers, too. Clemson got swept at Raleigh against NC State. That was interesting. They're now 20-1. Might be a buy low spot on the Clemson Tigers. Eric Bakich in his 3rd season over in Clemson. Of course, he took Michigan all the way to the final game. 1 win away, game 3 against Vanderbilt. Kumar Rocker and that crew for the national championship. They're at 20-1, and A&M got swept. Is 20-1 as well. Some of the others, Texas, Arkansas. I'm still surprised Arkansas is the second choice right now behind Texas. All right, we do it every week, looking at some college baseball, some picks. We're doing pretty good. 5-0 if you've gone with the parameters and stay disciplined. If you just take it a picks regardless of the price, you're 5-1 so far. A couple of right around plus 180, plus $2 dogs in there as well. For Charles Hanagriff, I'm Jimmy Ott here talking college baseball on the Bet Rivers Network on the Sports Bettor's Paradise.
Thanks for watching College Sports Rushes, Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.